Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, today we are going to dive into the absolutely mind-blowing true story of Charles Babbage, Ada Lovelace, and the epic 19th century quest to build computers out of steam, brass, and gears. Yep, you heard that right. Long before electricity, touchscreens, or keyboards, these two brilliant inventors dreamed up a computer that literally hissed, clanked, and puffed out steam.
So let me ask you a quick question. Have you ever made a mistake on your math homework? Maybe you forgot to carry a 1 or accidentally mixed up a plus and a minus sign? Hey, it happens to the absolute best of us. But here's the thing. Back in the 1800s, human math errors were a massive deal. People had to rely on these giant printed books of number tables for pretty much everything. We're talking navigating ships across the ocean, building giant bridges, and running banks. And because these tables were calculated entirely by hand and, well, humans are human, the books were absolutely full of mistakes. An undetected math error back then, it was a disaster waiting to happen. It could literally cause a ship to crash into rocks or a bank to lose an absolute fortune.
Okay, let's dive into this. Picture it. The year is 1821. A brilliant mathematician named Charles Babbage is sitting with his friend, the astronomer John Herschel. And they're stuck doing the totally boring, grindingly tedious job of manually checking these printed math tables. After finding error after error after error, Babbage just loses it. He throws his hands up in extreme frustration and shouts, "I wish to God these calculations had been executed by steam." He didn't just want a better eraser, right? He wanted a whole machine that could do the math perfectly without a single human mistake.
Now you might be wondering, why on earth did he think a steam machine could do math? Well, to understand that, we have to look at Babbage's really fascinating worldview. He was a big believer in something called natural religion. Basically, he saw God as the ultimate master programmer. He genuinely believed that God had designed the entire universe to run on flawless, unbreakable mathematical laws. And Babbage figured, hey, if God could program the whole universe with perfect math, then surely humans could figure out how to build a machine out of gears and steam to do flawless math too. He was so incredibly passionate about this idea that he wrote an entire book about it in 1837 called the Ninth Bridgewater Treatise. In it, he argued that there is absolutely no clash between science and faith. Actually, scratch that, he went even further. He drew a bold, direct parallel between his own work trying to build a calculating engine and God's role as the divine programmer of the universe.
And this brilliantly illustrates what he was going for. Babbage essentially wanted to build a steam-powered machine to decode the mathematical rules of the universe. Just as the universe was programmed with divine mathematical laws, his engines would be programmed by humans using gears, levers, and steam power to spit out perfect, infallible answers. It was basically the 19th century equivalent of trying to build a massive gaming console to uncover the secrets of the cosmos. How cool is that?
Section 1. The Mechanical Beast. Difference Engine Number 1.
So, Babbage designed this absolute beast to automatically calculate super complicated math puzzles and just stamp the answers right onto printing plates, totally banishing human error once and for all. But the scale of this machine was absolutely crazy for the time. It called for 25,000 individually crafted high-precision parts. It would have weighed an estimated 4 tons. The British government actually bankrolled the project, and the cost quickly skyrocketed to £17,500. Now, to put that into perspective, in the 1830s, that same amount of money could buy 22 brand-new steam locomotives. It was a massive, staggeringly expensive undertaking.
Sadly, the giant machine was never actually finished. Babbage got into a really nasty argument with his chief engineer, Joseph Clement, and the whole project just ground to a halt. But in 1832, they did finish a tiny demonstration piece. It was just 1/7 of the calculating section. Today, it's known as the beautiful fragment. And here is the amazing part. It worked perfectly. It was literally the world's first successful automatic calculator. It proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that Babbage's crazy mechanical dreams were actually mathematically sound.
Section 2. The Analytical Engine. A quantum leap. Moving into 1834, Babbage dreamed up an even bigger design for a true programmable computer, complete with a mill for processing and a store for memory.
Section 3. Enter Ada Lovelace, the first programmer. You see, Babbage needed someone who truly understood this new machine, and he found exactly that in a brilliant 17-year-old mathematician.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how Ada beautifully combined her father's poetic imagination with her mother's strict math logic. In 1843, she translated a French article about the analytical engine, and she added her own massive set of notes to it.
In these notes, she described the exact step-by-step process the machine would take to solve a really complex math problem. Today, we call that a computer program. She literally wrote the very first published step-by-step program in history.
But Ada's true genius? That was her prophetic vision of the future. While Babbage was still just thinking about, making perfect math tables, Ada realized this machine could be so much more. She saw that numbers on a gear could represent anything, letters of the alphabet, symbols, even musical notes. She predicted that a computer could one day write text and compose elaborate scientific pieces of music. She looked at a machine made of brass and steam and accurately predicted the entire digital world we live in today. Mind-blowing, right?
Despite all this absolute brilliance, Babbage never actually saw his grand machines completed in his lifetime. So why did he fail? Well, it was a messy mix of runaway costs, a lack of funding, and honestly, Babbage's own prickly personality. He was easily offended, terrible at public relations, and constantly got into fights with the very people trying to help him. He died in 1871 thinking he was a total failure. Oh, and here's a slightly macabre fun fact for you. To figure out what made him so incredibly smart, scientists actually kept his brain. Yep, half of it is still preserved in a jar at the Science Museum in London today. No way, right? Section 4. The second difference engine, built at last. Before Babbage died, he actually designed a much more elegant version of his machine, leaving behind these beautiful, highly detailed blueprints. Let's move on and see how this builds up. For over 100 years, historians looked at those blueprints with a nagging question. Would it have actually worked? To answer that once and for all, in 1985, a team at the Science Museum in London set out to actually build difference engine number 2, using Babbage's exact original designs from 1847. And they were super careful to only use the level of manufacturing precision that would have been available to Babbage back in the 1800s. It turned into a massive, 17-year project filled with real drama, funding crises, and super tough technical puzzles. But then, in 2002, the massive 5-ton machine, consisting of 8,000 incredibly intricate parts, was fully completed. And the result? Total, glorious vindication. The machine worked exactly as Babbage intended. It was a visual masterpiece, this stunning giant puzzle of moving parts that proved Babbage wasn't just a dreamer. He was a designer of absolute, formidable ingenuity whose only real limits were the politics and economics of his time. He really hit the nail on the head. So what does this all mean? The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that Charles Babbage and Ada Lovelace looked at the world, saw a problem, and dared to imagine an impossible solution using the tools they had. They literally dreamed up the computer age a full century before it arrived. Now it's your turn to think like an inventor. Look around you. If you weren't afraid of failing, what incredible, world-changing machine would you invent? Keep asking questions, keep imagining, and I'll see you in the next explainer.